Welcome to our KZN delegates. I am so incredibly excited. I can't tell you what amazing energy we have here in our TPN studio to welcome you to our first TPN live webinar. So in other words, if I fall over at this moment in time, we can't edit it out. However, we just wanted to say we are incredibly excited to bring you yet another new product live in your boardroom, live wherever you are, on your phone, on your computer, because we're certainly not letting us not being there present today in our conference with you stop us from sharing our information. So for those that are new to the TPN community, my name is Shanaaz Trethewey. I am head of training here at TPN, and joining me today we will have Jade Metembo, our in-house legal counsel, and she'll be spending time with you in the second half of our time together, sharing with you some of the legal basis of the tools that we have here at TPN. So how is this going to work? Right now, we know that the coronavirus has had its impact, and we've taken here at TPN this very seriously. We've taken our clients' health very seriously, and for this reason, we've all banded together and we're delivering you this webinar. And we are very interested. We continue to be very interested in your comments, in your feedback. And at the end of this webinar, there will be a feedback form that is posted, so please complete it. But don't let that stop you from posting your questions. In the comment section below, we will be fielding as many of these comments and questions that you have at the end of our time together. So your voice is heard, even if I don't at this point in time get to see your faces. I do miss seeing those faces, and for our new subscribers, a special welcome. And certainly being part of the TPN community, our members that have been here with us for quite a while would have welcomed you along with us. So let's talk about our time together. How is this going to work? You have currently logged in on our TPN YouTube channel, and from that perspective you will then be able to hear me, and if you've logged on correctly you will see the comment section below. If you can't see the comment section below, I'd like to ask you to call our TPN help desk, and they will certainly guide you along on logging on properly so that you have the comment section to access and send your questions as and when they arise. Normally, I have 3 hours of intense time with you. TPN has grown over the years. Did you know we are 20 years old this year? 20 years. And each time we engage with you, we come back, we take your feedback, and we come back and we develop something that is going to add value to you. So for us, we'd like to tell you that those 3 hours are extremely valuable. But in terms of adapting to this webinar medium, what we've done is we've condensed it into 1 hour, and we've got 6 parts to it, if I can put it that way. The first part is really me introducing us, setting the scene, also taking you through the TPN latest news. The second part is about our credit vetting and obviously additional products that go along with that. The third part will be a high-level interpretation of what you will find in the TPN rent check. At this point, I will hand over to Jade, and she'll take you through the tools and the available remedies you have in terms of the NCA and the TPN legal platform. And we will end right at the end with a Q&A session. So let's get going on that. Let me just remind you that our feedback form will be available only for half an hour after the completion of this hour with you. So please send in that feedback. What is new in TPN? In terms of TPN, you guys have probably been receiving a whole lot of emails, and these emails are not only reminders to send in data, and not on a light note, but we certainly, coronavirus should not stop you from submitting data. So I have a very different sense of humor, but please don't be offended. However, what I'm saying is that we're certainly not going to allow you not to submit your data, not to know how to submit your data because you are in your office and unable to connect with us. So in terms of our new products, you would have seen that you have an email on our surveys, and you've received emails on the survey results. We've had residential lease packs that have gone out, residential leaseback updates. We have had vacancy survey, and obviously something that you all have been asking us from an agent and a landlord perspective, the commission survey. And those commission survey results have gone out. But let's first start at the most exciting thing for me, and that is this YouTube channel. And the YouTube channel is really trying to get you to use the time with us as effectively as possible. When I speak to our agents, they constantly tell me about the 3 to 5 minutes that they have between meeting clients. So let's use those 3 to 5 minutes, not by logging on for the first 30 seconds, but rather listening to those 3 to 5 minutes about the little bits and essence of information for the documents that you can then download when you're back in the office. And if I can guide you through, because we all know technology can be intimidating, but this isn't about it being intimidating. It's about us being available to you and alerting you to when we've got yet another video. So if we have a look at your phone, if you go to your YouTube app or YouTube on your computer, what you will be doing is you will be logging into the TPN YouTube channel. You will search for that. You will view or use the link we send to you. You will view the various different videos, and we'll have more videos on demand that will allow you to learn exactly the different components of our system. You will view it. We suggest you subscribe to it. Actually, I urge you to subscribe to it, because this way this bell that I've circled over here will then appear. That bell will alert you to when the next video is then published and pushed through to you. So you don't need to go searching. It's as easy as that. So please subscribe, use the bell, and get the comments, get the information in your handheld device. One of the videos that we did publish was the commission survey. We've been asked about the commission survey every single time we go to a training survey, and we understand how important this information is to the agents, also landlords, knowing exactly how to benchmark their various different commission structures and the costs that they're passing on. But more so than this, we used this opportunity to actually gauge what the top priority concern for rental agents and landlords would be. Please watch this video presented by Michelle Dickens, our MD, that explores the essence of the commission survey. What it did tell us is that the biggest buy-to-let challenge stated by both landlords and estate agents is finding a quality tenant. Years ago, it used to be the collection of rent. And why I highlight what years ago it was and where we're at today, it's about the impact that we're having, and the impact that we're having by using the tools that are available on the TPN platform. Collecting rent used to be a major concern. By using the tools of ensuring that you react to non-payment, using the remedies of blacklisting, of sending your letters of demand, of using the TPN lease packs, you are in a position to have these enforceable remedies. So continue doing that. Continue keeping that collection and that concern at bay by using those tools. However, finding a quality tenant is the top challenge, shared by both agents and landlords. And TPN offers you the TPN rent check, which you can use and have impact in addressing this very challenge that you yourselves have reported to us in the vacancies, in the commission survey. It further goes on to explore the commission structures, and you will find the detail in the report available on the TPN website. What we see is 42% of agents do not charge a placement fee, and subsequently the 58% do charge a placement fee. It then goes on to explore later in the report how this actually looks. What does the 42%, how does their management structure look? And also the additional information on the additional charges on top of the placement fee for the 58% that charge the placement fee. We have comments on additional charges such as lease fees, inspection fees, credit checks, and repairs and maintenance surcharges, all with averages. Obviously, some people are charging it. You are going to get the extremes. But what we're about is providing you the feedback on the information and what the industry is feeding back to us, so you know where you stand in terms of the costing structures. When I'm in a conference center and engaging with people, I always have stories, and I always have moments where I go off on my own little tangent, and I just have to give you my 2 cents worth on this, because the average lease fee for signing up one tenant, when I read the commission survey, was 915 Rand, and the lease pack for a year's subscription was 920 Rand. So hashtag, like, I'm just saying that one sign up is a recoupment on a reputable and a recognized industry standard in terms of contracting with your clients. So please go and read that. But at this point in time, because we really are condensing everything, let's get started on the system. Right. This is after you log on. This is what you see. We call it the dashboard. All right, it is this dashboard, this menu button. When you come onto the dashboard, you get something that is actually a favorite of mine. In many places you log on and you have a world of options. The ease of navigation is something that's very important to us, because we want to make it as simple as possible for you, because in many cases we are users also. We've got first-hand experience. What's important to us is ease of use. So let's have a look at this. Your dashboard is able to give you a good high-level view of what your portfolio looks like. And normally what I ask my audience at this point in time is, if you don't see these fabulous colors, what is it that is happening? And the response is, we're not submitting data. So in order to see this, you need to be submitting data. And what we have is we've got a color and naming convention, which is for your ease of reference. And this follows through the whole of the report. You will see these colors repeatedly with the various different descriptions. So you will have paid on time, grace period, paid late, partial payment, and did not pay with their color references. Grace period is there, and once again I would ask, why is it there? And the answer would be, because people are allowed. Our tenants have a legal right to it. At which time I object and I say, grace period is actually our own convention. It is something that agents have put in place which shouldn't be there, agents and landlords. That is not something that is legally documented, and for as long as we use grace period, we're not going to change and impact people to be paid on time. So we've got that there for whilst people are using it, but I urge you to stop using this and take action as soon as there's a non-payment. Jade will go through your to-do list. These are triggers for how you go about responding to non-payment, to partially paid accounts, blacklisting, and letters of demand. Your counters over here will tell you active and inactive accounts. What's the benefit of submitting your data to and running a TPN rent check with this TPN product? Is effectively, when you do a TPN rent check, we monitor for you. Every month you will get a monitoring report. And that monitoring report is effectively going to rerun this rent check that we will be exploring to tell you whether the particular tenant that you are monitoring has had a change in their status. A change would mean, have they gone up, in terms of their credit score? Have they had a blacklisting? Have they had a judgment? And obviously you now in a more empowered position to respond to that, to know how to manage their account going forward and how to manage collections going forward. So from that perspective, submitting data allows you to do that. Submitting data allows you to the TPN rent check, access to the TPN rent check. Access to the TPN rent check allows you to have this monitoring. In terms of vetting, we've got this option up here called credit checks. It's called credit checks, but it's so much more than that. It is the world of our vetting products. When you check on that, when you click on that, you will come to this screen. And this screen has both the menu on this side as well as your links. And for the most part, everything that's listed here is exactly the same as here. Should I say to you, let's do a consumer credit check? If I had to do it here, it would lead me to the same place. Similar with a business credit check, consumer trace, and you've got your whole history available to you here. This mailbox is not your Outlook mailbox. Your mailbox is our way of communicating with you on products that required what we will explore, investigation, and subsequently our response to that. You will be alerted to the response that you will get on the mailbox. Now, business checks and consumer checks are available. And at this point, I talk through with people about that business checks give you an overview. We go to Golden Source. All of our databases, and you will see in your training manual, you've got 8 different databases in terms of us sourcing Golden Source information. When I say Golden Source, I mean that we are actually going direct to the database. There's no manual intervention. There's someone responding via email, inputting information. We're getting it directly. So with businesses, you are going to be getting information directly from the SIPS database, and ultimately you will have all the directors that will be listed there. Those directors are individuals, and in certain cases you are going to be in a position where you will have to ask for director suretyship, and ultimately that will lead you to doing a consumer check on them. So when we're going through the high level TPN rent check, I will take you through the consumer check. We have both landlords and agents in this audience, and if I can speak to both of them, you guys take a lot of time going out to your clients, and safety, we know, is a priority for all of us. So at this point in time, we've got vetting products that allow you to answer questions along this journey of getting a tenant into your property. So the first question I would be asking when someone is interested in a property is, do I want to meet this person? And for that question, I need to know that this person is alive, it's not fraudulent, that they are a viable person that I'm willing to spend my time driving to and meeting with. In that case, we've got something called a pre-assessment check, and this is this selection. The pre-assessment check leads you to a screen that says, here's a wizard, enter your consumer details. Your consumer details then require you to put a reference number. Because you've got a history here, your reference number is something that means something to you, and we require the inquiry details. At this point in time, most people go, how do I get the ID number? And this is why we've got this fabulous little trace on this side, and the trace means that I can then have a look, and based on the phone number, I can then source the ID and passport number. This check costs you R15.90. I'm not up to speed with the new taxes, how much a litre of petrol will cost you, but it certainly will save you going out to meet someone. But once we perform the check, we are sourcing this information both from the TPN database as well as CPB. And if we go down, look at that, guys. We get to see the person's picture. We get to see the status. If he is exactly who he's saying he is, we get to see a summary of his credit report, judgments and defaults, and the inquiry information is reaffirmed to us to say, is this the person that I'm actually looking at? Is he married, male, in the human settlement? Is he in the National Population Register? And does he pass a positive identification? You can then go to the ID verification. I like thinking of all of these tabs at the top as file dividers in a file. And now this is taking from the TPN, our database. What we are looking at is our ID status flags, and we're looking at saying, yes, he is, his name matches, his marital status, he is married. Is he dead or alive? Guys, oh my word, it's quite amazing the number of applications that our people are processing where people are dead. I think last year it was something like 46 people were processing applications on dead individuals. So it seems a bit extreme to be checking this, but you know, here it is. It's available to you. So now you know who you're going to meet. Now that you know this is who you're going to meet, there is a potential for a transaction. When there is a potential for a transaction, the next question you have to ask yourself is this a person that I can transact with? In terms of estate agents, there is the FIC Act, and now you need to step into your accountable institution role. And that means you need to FICA the individual that you're going to transact with. There is an interest for you guys to transact. And before you enter into this, you do not want to be at risk for fines, and you don't want to be at risk for an audit where you don't have adequate documentation. At this point in time, we do know your client check. Once again, it enters into a wizard. You put your reference. You enter the applicant's details. Please, for data integrity, input the exact details. And once again, your check is a very affordable amount for compliance compared to a 40 million rand fine as the banks experienced. Perform the check, and the check leads you to yet another summary, an ID verification, and a KYC details. And this is our golden source. We are getting another report. This report is SLA compliant. That means in terms of how we've drawn the information from the bureau that sources the information for us, it is compliant, and you can download that report. And that report is FIC compliant. It will stand up to an audit. From that perspective, what it means is that you are in a position to then go ahead and start doing your credit check. So know your client, and a pre-assessment and a trace inquiry does not require permission, and therefore does not leave a footprint. You will see in our next check, which is the actual TPN rent check, it does leave a footprint, and it does require consent because you are accessing financial information. So let's progress. The credit check tab leads you to all of your various, we were here, the credit check tab. If I go to consumer check and I go new credit check, I enter a similar field which is step 1, enter consumer details. And you know, as far as possible, I've always read the descriptions because it's quite explanatory. This page allows you to confirm the consumer using a valid RSA ID number. And if you don't have it, use a passport. So the inquiry type allows you to capture the reason for why you are doing this inquiry. And for this purposes, we're doing it for rental. Your reference is your applicant details. It must have meaning to you, not us. You input the RSA ID number. And for where you don't have it, if you press on this toggle, it will allow you to put your passport, the passport details. Certain individuals have adapted their applicant forms to include all this information for ease of reference in completing this form. For this purposes, we are doing Fred Smith, the passport number search. If Fred Smith has 5 names, please include all of his names. We need to reference this back to source data as he's registered on the National Population Register, and no nicknames will be acceptable. You now creating aliases, nor will we be able to actually pick up who we're looking for. We don't want errors just because of capturing. At this point in time, you complete all of the information and you press the next button. Confirming consent is incredibly important, and you will see on the screen I've got RSA ID verification and I've got an NCA compliance. The RSA ID verification is automatically checked. It's because I always tell everyone you need to have a very, very conscious decision about how you go if you want to uncheck that. Do you really want to uncheck that? Do you really not want to verify that this is the person given the level of fraud? And it's a very conscious decision, so we highly recommend it. Why the NCA compliance is not checked is because I want you to be very conscious to know, have I asked permission to do this? You need to ask permission to do this, and you need to say, I have obtained it. In terms of your credit score, you have 3 options. You've got the basic, you've got the silver, and you've got the gold. I will show you the difference in the actual TPN rent check, but at the end of the day, when you can get more information and a better picture of who you're dealing with, the more empowered you are. Obviously, you also have the ability to list how many people you've got in terms of this lease. So if you're sharing, you don't want to assess affordability when it's only a portion of the rent. Once you press next, you have the TPN report options. The TPN rent check inquiry includes all of these inquiries. Unchecking it means you get to select. I would be hesitant to do that because once again you're picking and choosing which information you'd like, and the investigate portion of these various different reports which are available to you means it requires time. Once you've checked what you want, you then, well, I would say once you've checked the TPN rental inquiry and any of these additional investigative reports, I perform the credit check. And wow, here it is. Once again, you've got a report that is like a filing system. You've got a summary, and you've got each of these tabs that tells you this is information that I've pulled from a specific database. And let me tell you, the only place that you will get a report with a summary is the TPN rent check. And I want to show you the summary. The TPN rent check scorecard. I can't tell you how much I love reading this. Who gets to go and actually have a look at the synopsis of what we are looking at in terms of the scorecard? In terms of the basic credits, this score of A, B, C, D, and F, we don't have an E. Take note, we jumped. F sounds so much, it has so much more impact than you have E. I think you have F sounds so much more impactful, so we've got F. In terms of the basic, you will just get the score. In terms of the silver, you will get can they afford to pay? And in terms of the gold, you also get the probability of squatting. The scorecard takes you on a journey. It shows you the payment trend of the individual that you're looking at. And it's not always proportionate. You don't always just have the green turning into red. For here, Fred Smith, we're seeing, wait a moment, we are having a decline in his liquidity. We're having a decline in his cash flow. He just has less money. And that money that he is spending, well, he's not really spending on the right priorities. The donuts. In terms of TPN payments, this is the TPN community. Everyone that is part of payments that we monitor will share in this donut. In terms of credit payments, this is what we call SACRA data. SACRA data is the data that is shared from banks, institutions, and various other credit providers to a central database that is shared across all of the various different credit bureaus. These are your vehicle finance, your bank loans, your mortgage bonds, etc. And your negatives is a way for you to track what judgments, defaults, notices, debt review, and under dispute, the matters that are under dispute. It is your judgments and defaults that are reflected in the donut, and under dispute is a switch. It's either a yes or no. Every consumer has the right to dispute what is reflected on their various credit report. Right now, if we scroll down, we'll be able to see the credit report summary. And the CPA, which is our SACRA data, it tells us out of all of his credit information, he has 1.8 million outstanding. His monthly installments are 108,000 and his arrears balance is 523. This is based on 15 accounts that we've got from TransUnion in this case. If we have a look at the judgments and defaults above, we've reported 2 in TransUnion and 1 in Experian. And if I scroll down over here, you'll be able to see this is the query information. So our summary is really based on the underlying reports and the algorithms that calculate that score. If we look at the TPN tab, that says I'm looking at the TPN database. I have the header information because I want to make sure the database has pulled up the correct person. As I scroll down, I get SIPS information. I then see the information that relates to TPN in terms of this lease with Piet Botha as a landlord for a rental of 10,400. He did not pay. If the landlord had done a check, a TPN rent check, he would have seen the did not pay from the previous lease and that he was evicted. And this is the power of this report. Please note the colors and the descriptions have remained consistent. As we go down, you will see that we've got storage companies, and that is where the 13% in the little spotted paid on times is actually impacting. The 87% on the donut that we saw in the summary of bad payment is coming from the did not pays. If we have a look at the bottom, this is the footprint. This is where others have done an inquiry. If we look at employment verification, this is yet another community that we are party to, and we ask you and urge you to submit data to us on your, if you submit data on your employees, you get to verify the individual that you are vetting in terms of their employment. No getting business cards and numbers that are obtained on pay-as-you-go or business cards posted at Postnet. So let's have a look. If you submit data, you will be able to see this. We're not talking about disclosing people's salary information. We're talking about understanding how people are paid and the basis on which they're paid. So if you've got someone it's affordable based on them having a commission salary, it may change. If you want to make sure that you're dealing with someone that actually is employed, you can actually verify it here. In terms of TransUnion, this is where we get our SACRA data. And if we scroll down, we get all the header information. We get to see the judgments. The judgments, remember 2 judgments. We get to see the value when it was loaded. And we also get to see the detail behind those 15 accounts. And each one of these are based on the SACRA data, credit information that's submitted. And when we have a look at it, we have a look at all of the credit accounts, and there are 15 of them. And we scroll down, and you can have a look. The date it was opened, the monthly installment, when it was last updated, the balance, and the overdue amount. The colors have remained the same. However, the conventions of 0, 1, and 2 are conventions by TransUnion, and what you can do is you can call us, but also in your manual we have given a description on how you should interpret that. If we have a look at Experian, yet another golden source database, you get to see the person, his header information. As we scroll down, you get to see default and judgment information, and hey, look, we don't see 158,000 there. This is the power of having the whole rent check. You get to see all the information. If you only had to choose Experian, you would have missed out on a judgment that could vastly affect the decision that you make. If you go to ID verification, we have explored that. We source information from the deeds database, and we can see deeds associated with this ID number. If you are in a sales environment, you also want to know that people actually do own the property. Bank code, currently investigation, he hasn't committed fraud. We need the bank to verify and get back to us. Account verification, very important. We follow where the money goes. If you've got debit orders, you need to know the account exists. Also, you need to know it's not associated with a company that's in deed registration, for example. Qualifications, you need to go to the source, and with criminal track record, we require a fingerprint. So that is a very quick, high-level view of the TPN rent check. We are here to answer your questions. We are here to support you. And clearly, when we are in your area, please visit us or call us, and we're very happy to take you through in further detail. But at this point in time, I really would like to hand over to Jade, and she will take you through some of the legal tools that you have available on the TPN platform.
Thank you, Shanaaz. I must say I was looking forward to meeting all of our KZN clients, as it would have been my first time presenting in KZN. But as we know, everything happens for a reason, and at least we are able to bridge the gap with technology to deliver a very important message to you today. Now, I am an attorney, and I believe that everything needs to be reduced to writing. So my first starting point would be in terms of contracting correctly. There are many remedies available to you in law. However, if your contract doesn't make allowance for certain instances, you are unable to rely on these remedies. So if you are a landlord, please make sure you are formalizing the agreement between yourself and the tenant, so both parties are aware of the terms they are required to contract on. If you are an agent, you are mandated to act in the best interests of your landlord. Firstly, by placing a quality tenant, and secondly, by contracting or using a sound contract. Now, I have been employed with TPN for 2 years now, and I wholeheartedly endorse our lease agreements. It is well recognized, as it has been through the court process and the Rental Housing Tribunal. It also stands you in good stead in terms of disputes that may arise once the lease has been signed, and it also protects the rights of both landlord and tenant. Our drafting attorneys, SSLR Incorporated, are industry leaders in terms of evictions and anything property related. We have a YouTube channel, or we have a video recently launched by Head of Legal Peter Menon. I'm sure many of you are familiar with him, and our drafting attorney, Silna Stein, where they have just gone into the recent amendments we have done to our lease pack, our residential lease pack. And it is based on a recent finding by the Rental Housing Tribunal, where a tenant cancelled the lease agreement before she took occupation. Now, as a landlord, I'm sure you dealt with this matter once or twice before, but as an agent, I know this is your daily bread. The amendment we made to our lease agreement was we amended the wording from commencement date to effective date, which allows both parties to perform once the lease is signed, but it also allows both parties to demand performance should either party default. As I said, how you contract is very important. And if you need any advice, we have a legal advisory platform, and you can contact us at any time. We are here to assist you. TPN is a credit bureau, and we are underpinned by the National Credit Act and its regulations. We are also held to strict standards by the National Credit Regulator. And my sole purpose here today is to equip you with the correct legal tools to effectively use our system, and to make sure you are following the correct procedure in terms of blacklisting as far as the National Credit Act is concerned. The term blacklisting, or to blacklist, is widely used, but it can often be misleading as it dates back to a time where credit bureaus only kept negative information. Today, bureaus hold both negative and positive data, the combination of which proves to be immensely beneficial in placing future tenants. Now, this is why we emphasize the submission of data so much, because what we have fostered is a community, and it's based on the principle of reciprocity. So as far as payment profile information is concerned, it reflects on the credit record for a period of 5 years. So if you are dealing with a tenant who consecutively pays late, does not pay, or partially pays their rental, it will reflect on their record for a period of 5 years. So even if you elect not to blacklist them, or if you choose not to obtain a judgment against defaulting tenants, because it is costly and it is time consuming, know that should future landlords run a credit check on your tenants, the payment profile information will highlight that this tenant is in fact, this is a red flag, and maybe don't go there. And as much as you are benefiting your tenants' future landlords, you will also benefit from this, because when you are placing a tenant, you don't have their background. You don't know what their payment patterns are. So if the community we have created, everyone is submitting their data, it is easy to see where the red flags are and which tenants to avoid, so that you are placing quality tenants for your landlords. In terms of the requirements for blacklistings, it is set out in Regulation 19 of the National Credit Act. The first requirement for blacklisting is that a letter of demand must have been sent 20 business days prior to the listing being loaded. I'm going to navigate you through the system to show you which letters of demand to send in which instances. So we have 2 letters of demand on our system. The first letter of demand is the 20 business day letter of demand. This should be sent when you are dealing with a residential lease in its fixed term. The second letter of demand we have on our system is the 7-day letter of demand. This should be sent when you are dealing with a commercial lease, or you're dealing with a residential lease that has continued on a month-to-month basis. I'm going to navigate you towards our dashboard. If you are submitting your data, this is what your dashboard should look like. Shanaaz has already taken you through what the payment flags mean. And if we scroll down, you see that there is a to-do list. It also explains when you need to set payment profile information for your tenants, or how many of your tenants have partially paid accounts or unpaid accounts. It also notifies you when a letter of demand is required to be sent to a certain tenant, or when a blacklisting is required. There's also a nifty notification where it lets you know when accounts are about to expire, and you need to contact your tenants in order to advise them whether you intend renewing the agreement with them or not. If you scroll back to the top, and you click on the My Data tab, you put in your reference to identify your tenant, and then you click onto their profile. If you look on the left-hand tab, it has all the information you need. So here you can view their payment profile information. And if you scroll down to the Listings tab, you click on the second option being Letters. this is where you go to send your letters of demand. If you need assistance with this, please contact our help desk in this regard. And then I'm going back to the tab on the left-hand side. You click on Blacklistings, and this is how you click to add a new blacklisting record. So the second requirement for default listings is that the consumer must be in arrears for 3 consecutive billing cycles. This does not require the agreement to have continued. So even if you're dealing with a tenant that has absconded, you are still able to load a listing. I always advise our tenants, if you are unsure or if you need assistance in counting the days, I have my calendar at hand. Please contact us. We are happy to assist you to make sure the procedure is followed correctly. The third requirement is that the letter must contain a warning to the consumer of the possible negative effect on their profile should they not respond to the demand. Our TPN letters of demand are 100% compliant with the National Credit Act, so please make sure you are sending TPN letters of demand. It is important to bear in mind the following. The letter must be addressed to the consumer who signed as lessee on the agreement. Now, as agents, a lot of the times you are dealing with parents signing on behalf of their children or siblings signing on behalf of one another. This is also why the contract is so important. Make sure you are sending the letter of demand to the party who has signed as lessee. You might have a party cited as occupant. You cannot pursue legal action against the occupant. You can only send your letter of demand to the lessee. The second requirement to bear in mind is that the letter must be sent to the consumer's chosen domicile in the contract. So if the consumer has only elected to receive legal notices and correspondence via email, you have to send it via email. If they've chosen a different address to the premises address, please make sure you are sending it to the correct address as it is stipulated in the lease agreement. So that is our story on blacklistings and how to effectively load your blacklistings for your tenants. If you have any questions in this regard, if you need clarity on the 7-day letter or the 20 business day letter, please drop us a comment below. We will be addressing your questions shortly. Do you have them?
Thank you, Jade. And thank you for posting your questions. Once again, we are online, we are connected, and we've got a question saying, does a pre-assessment check require permission? No. A pre-assessment check is like a trace, is like a KYC, and you can go, it doesn't leave a footprint, it doesn't require permission. In terms of the next question, can you do a KYC check on your landlord too? Well, in terms of FIC as an agent, as an accountable institution, you have to KYC what we call everybody. Anyone that you are doing a transaction with, isn't that right?
Yes.
Everybody,
Everyone you're transacting with.
It's going to be your landlord, it's going to be your tenant, anyone that you are going to be transacting with, and your landlord has asked you to have a mandate with him. Thanks, Nikki, for those questions. With regards to Richard O'Brien, if you can see what Richard had to ask.
So Richard O'Brien would like to know, how long can you see this credit report, or is it always available for you to refer to?
This is part of your history, and it will be available in terms of the document repository for our KYC. That is 5 years, I believe. We keep it for 5 years. So if you do have reports that you have purchased and you're struggling to find your history, please call us at Help Desk and we'll help you navigate to getting them.
Okay, Mervyn Chetty would like to he has a question regarding international tenants. He wants to know, does the current TPN credit check, is it only confined to RSA residents, which means the tenant would escape any defaults in his home country? Does the system deal with this?
So Mervyn, that is a very relevant question, and we have people ask this several times, many times. In terms of different countries, what we've got is we've got different legislation that goes beyond borders. So we've got to be cognizant of what we can do and what the implication is of people not meeting their contractual and credit obligations here in our country. So we've got SACRA and we've got our consumer information. In terms of defaulting, we create the transactionary history of how people, whether they are citizens or non-citizens, how they are transacting within our borders. In terms of having an implication on impact outside of our borders, it's similar to me as asking, does our law, is that has an implication beyond our borders? Everything we do is confined to South Africa. However, we collect data on whether you're a South African citizen or whether you are a foreign national, as long as you transact within the South African borders. I trust that's answered your question. Right. Do we have any other questions? Jade, let's have a look at... We have wonderful, we have really great views, and I think that concludes right now the questions that we had posted in our comment section. We really enjoyed having you join us, and I'm just waiting for any other questions in terms of our channel and our people around us. If you can submit us any questions.
Okay, we're going through the comments on YouTube. Please, the one question from Ruvashni is, please can you clarify the 3 consecutive cycle requirement for blacklisting? If your tenant, for example, defaults in January and February, but in March, your tenant pays up the account, you cannot blacklist your tenant. Your tenant must default for January, February, and March. It is important to bear in mind that a partial payment does not extinguish your right to load a listing. Your tenant must remedy their breach in full, otherwise you can continue to blacklist them. Please let me know if that answers your question. Trishan is saying that he would like assistance on loading a new blacklisting. Please contact our help desk should you need assistance with loading a blacklisting. Joy would like to know, can we put a property address and email address as domicile? Yes, you may. You may serve legal processes via email, so you can put an email address down as your domicile. Nikki would like to know, how long do we need to give a tenant to vacate if we cancel the lease to vacate the premises? So there are certain processes that need to be followed as far as cancellation of a lease is concerned. If your tenant is in breach, if you're dealing with a fixed term lease agreement, you must give them 20 business days to remedy their breach. If they don't remedy within that period, on the 21st business day, you send a cancellation and you can give them a reasonable period within which to vacate. I hope that answers your question, Nikki. Let me know if you need further clarity. Chanel would like to know, does the current TPN lease agreement have a clause that uses the current contract information supplied in the lease agreement as the domicile for legal notices? Current contract information, I assume you mean the premises address. It is still up to either party to elect their domicile. So it does make provision for domicile and for your address and email address, but you need to input the information yourself. Okay, there's a few comments. Are there any other questions from our clients? Anything you would like Shanaaz to address regarding the system or any other legal queries while we have some time?
Well, while we've got some time, I just wanted to mention to you that I was reading a few comments while you were presenting. some of our clients are saying account verification is increasingly important with fraudulent applicants. You know, just to emphasize that point, when we have fraud coming through, we need to make sure that the accounts that are associated with individuals are actually belonging to those individuals and they are verified by banks. So from that perspective, we do get a response on that, and you can know whether this is a valid account. So it's incredibly important. That was something someone mentioned that was useful to them. Thank you, Priscilla, for that comment. And in terms of the KYC, we've had fantastic reviews on people actually using it on the ground. It saves them incredible amounts of time due to the fact that they are in a position to get those documents in line and not be delayed with their transactions, on getting their tenant on board, on knowing that they have everything instead of waiting on them, because it's all in their repository. So we are super excited to see that that's had the traction that it has. And the other thing that I may not have mentioned is that we've recently had our tenant survey. Our tenant survey actually is an aspirational survey, and we're looking so forward to delivering that to you in the near future, because what it's exploring what are tenants out there, what do they want, if they wanted to buy a property or if they want to rent a property, what are they prioritizing, and the power and the empowerment that you will have as landlords and agents in order to actually approach your market with that knowledge is going to be phenomenal. So really watch this space. And if I don't mind, can I redo my earlier message? Please don't let the coronavirus stop you from submitting your data.
We have one question that's coming up quite a lot. How long do we need to give a tenant to vacate if we cancel? So if you're sending a 20 business day letter of demand to put your tenants on terms, and they don't remedy that breach within that time period, 20 business days works out to roughly a month. So that serves as the notice period. If you send them the cancellation on the 21st business day, a reasonable period is required. That could range from up to 24 hours to a week to a month. You just need to use your discretion when making that determination. I see that question just came up again. I hope I've answered your question. Please let us know if there's anything else you would need clarity on.
I'd like to remind everyone that at the end of this session, we will be sending out a link to the feedback form. Your feedback is incredibly important. As you know, this is the first time that we have come out on our webinar platform with you. Our pre-recorded other videos on demand are available on this channel. Please view them, subscribe, check that bell, listen, provide us your comments so that we adapt and go forward and deliver you the value that we're always willing to do so. So complete that form. Jade and I would love to refine our technique in delivering on an online platform on the interweb. So we look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you everyone for joining us today.
Thank you once again, and keep well, be safe, be healthy.